The first thing that we gotta address is the core of your Phainon build, and most of you are probably gonna be running crit damage here. But the thing is that you want at least 80% crit rate on your stat screen, even if you're using both Sunday and RMC, and that's gonna mean you're getting 30% crit rate in battle. You still just want to have 80% on the stat screen to make things more seamless when you're switching characters across teams, because sometimes you might just forget that your Phainon has like 70% crit rate, and then you move RMC onto the second side or something, and then boom, your damage drops off because you don't have 100% crit rate anymore. And that being said, I can't overemphasize how important crit rate is in this game. You need consistency. So crit rate is what you're gonna be running on the body. And now for the boots, and this is where a lot of people get it wrong to start with. So yeah, I know your -1 speed setups are looking really good with Sunday and Bronya, and you're getting your core flames and the rotation is looking okay. But the thing is that attack boots are just always gonna be better for Phainon, even if you miss out on that first turn. Because if you tune your speed correctly, you're gonna be able to make up for that and get enough core flame later on and not miss out on any buffs. Plus, you get the added bonus of all this attack onto your base kit. And that being said, you want to be getting at least 2800 attack on your stat screen. I know you've probably heard it over 100 times by now that Phainon's oversaturated in attack, but this one's really important. You want to be having like around this much attack in your stat screen. If your relics are amazing to the point where you can reach like that much attack with speed, which I don't even know if that's possible, but if you can do that, then I guess that's okay as well if you can also have all the other stats. And then your crit damage should at least be like 180. Okay, now let's get into the speed tuning. If you follow my advice, then your Phainon is gonna be at base speed, which means it's most likely gonna come last unless you have a Tribi in your team or something like that. The first character you're gonna have is RMC, because they're gonna advance themselves and they're normally gonna be really fast, and they're gonna have a lot of speed by design. There's two things you don't want to happen here. One, your mem support coming in after you advance Phainon, which wastes a turn. The next major thing to look at is skill durations. If we come over here and take a look at Bronya, you can see that her skill increases the character's damage by 66% for one turn, and this is the character's turn, not Bronya's turn. And this is also the same for her ultimate. The 2 turns is actually tied to the character's turn and not Bronya's own turn, unlike something like Ramei's ultimate. And this is the reason why you'd always want Bronya to come last. And that's so that you can use Phainon's ultimate immediately after skilling and ulting with your Bronya, to make sure that you don't lose any of these buffs. And on the note of buff uptimes, let's take a look at Ramei's ultimate, because the thing is, Ramei's ultimate deploys a zone that lasts for 2 turns, and it gives you all of these juicy buffs, right? But what if I told you that your Ramei ult could actually last for what feels like 3 turns? And this is why understanding how buffs works can really help. Ramei's ultimate is tied to her own turn, unlike Bronya's ultimate, which is tied to the character's turn. And so what that means is if you use Ramei's ultimate when Ramei has a turn, the countdown for the buff, the 2-turn countdown, is not actually gonna go down even after you take that initial turn with Ramei. And what that means is that the ultimate is gonna last longer than if you use Ramei's ultimate outside of her own turn. So that's just one thing to take note of. Now let's circle back to oversaturating on stats. Phainon oversaturates in attack percentage and crit damage buffs. So you'd actually want characters that can give you stuff like res pen and vulnerability, like Tribi, Ramei, and even Cypher. I've said a lot, so let's just get into it and show you guys all that I've been talking about. So we start like this. We get Sunday's skill and ult up. And as you can see, we're at 95%. So we skill here, we're at 98%. If we use a skill with Bronya right here, it's gonna conflict with Mem instantly. And that's a turn wasted. On the other hand, what we can do is, once it's Bronya's turn, we actually basic instead of skilling. And that brings Mem up, we get the Mem turn. And then we don't actually use, it might be tempting to use it here, but we don't use Bronya's ultimate here, because if we do, Phainon is most likely gonna lose Bronya's ult buff before we get the chance to even before we enter the ultimate. So use it here. And now we have mem support, we have Sunday's buffs, we have Bronya's ult and skill buff, and we immediately enter the ult here. And boom, we're doing almost 1 million damage here. Now on the other hand, what most people are gonna be doing here is this. They overlook the mem overriding Phainon, and then they also just use Bronya's ultimate here. So we get the skill off. But if you look at Phainon right now, look at Phainon, and you can see that Bronya's ult buff is already flashing on him. Whilst on other characters, it still has the 2-turn duration. And just like that, Bronya's ultimate buff is gone. And they don't know that most of their buffs are already gone before even entering the ultimate. And they just do a lot less damage. But okay, now we're gonna be switching over to the Robin team to showcase something else. So we use Sunday's technique, RMC's technique, and Phainon's technique there. We get to act with everyone. And you know, we're able to get our turns, right? But at the very last moment, we do get it. But at the same time, we have only one more turn left in this cycle, which is just kind of bad. Now, interestingly enough, one thing we can do here is use Robin's technique instead of RMC's technique. This is an example of where the enemies can actually come in handy in your rotation. And now as you can see, this guy gets to move before Robin does. We get Sunday's ult, we can use this immediately. It also transfers his technique. And then we use Robin's skill here. Mem comes in, just before Sunday, and look at this. This time around, this rotation is actually so much better. These guys are almost cooked. Like, they're almost just completely cooked. One of them even dies and the other one is at 1 HP. And so that means most of the bounces are going to be going into the elites, which are the ones that really matter here. Now look at that damage, 1.1 million. And boom, both elites are gone. Now, very interesting example, I didn't talk about this earlier, but another thing here is when to advance and when to use your basic attacks. So I'm just going to use both basics here. And as you can see, now I have enough for the meteor, but a lot of it is going to go into the small bugs by the side, which is not what we want. And now this also just gets a lot of bounces wasted on the add-ons on the side. And as you can see, we don't quite have enough to zero cycle it. Now, I'm not saying you gotta zero cycle, but this is just an example that I want to showcase. Boom, both elites get killed. And this time around, instead of using 2 basics, I'm gonna use the advance forward instead. And so what this first advance forward does is that it helps us chip down the swarm bugs on the side. Boom, they get chipped down. Thankfully they didn't die there, but sometimes the RNG can just kind of screw you over. And the reason why we don't want that is because this next bug is gonna multiply, right? And now look at this. The counter does enough damage to chip the other bugs, and all 3 bugs actually die here. So we get all the vulnerability onto these 2 guys, and now we can use a skill here, right? And look at that damage, 1.6 million. That guy's already cooked. We basic attack here, and then we advance forward again. He spawns his bugs and counter kills. And so bro spawns his minions. Phainon kills him immediately. He goes into second phase, but he doesn't advance himself, right? And then we just do this. The bugs are almost dead, as you can see, so most of the bounces are still gonna go to the true stings. Boom. And then, just like that, we've been able to optimize it in a way that we just get a zero cycle instantly. So yeah, the optimizations don't end after you enter your ultimate. There are still stuff that you can do in battle that can drastically change the outcome. Now, one last thing that I want to show you guys, and this one is not anybody's fault or anyone's wrong doing this, is something that just flies over people's heads sometimes. And just look at this. Notice anything strange here? Okay, now watch this on the second side. You noticed it now. The swarm side has a ton of physical resistances. Just to show you guys how much that nerfs your damage, I'm gonna show you how much I do here instead. And at the same time, we're also gonna keep an eye on Sunday's technique buff, cause yeah, I'm already about to lose it. Just like that, we've lost it. Try to do as much damage as possible because we want to get rid of this mob by the side. There we go. And then we enter our ultimate. And just to showcase the physical resistances, this is how much damage I'm doing here. Boom, almost 2 million straight up. And the damage did get inflated a bit on the first side with that almost 2 million there. But let's just take a look at Hule and see that we're doing you know, a consistent 1.4 million. And then we use Robin's ultimate. Phainon gets the turn so we don't end up getting you know, one turn getting sent into the void. And now we use Sunday's ultimate. And then we advance Phainon. So this is gonna be 11. We advance him one more time, and now you can see that we still have Sunday's technique buff, which is huge. We can skill into an ult here and we still get to keep it as well. And let's see how much this amps our damage. We're doing like 1.8 before. Boom, 2.1 million. This is just the importance of not losing your buffs before you enter Phainon's ultimate. This guy also just dies as well. He didn't die before. And that's something that's so easy to miss. Like, look at the first time that I did it. The first time, 475. But yeah, just look at that. From like 1.8 million all the way to 2.1. Just because this time around we paid attention and factored in a buff that we did not get before. And also do keep in mind that I actually wasn't even getting the Sunday technique buff up when we were doing the runs on this side, because I was trying to tune it to not lose Bronya's buffs instead. But yeah, that's another thing to take note of. And so yeah, that's what I have for you guys for this video today. And if you have, you know, like specific teams, you don't have any of the teams that I tested here today, what I did was just to show a general presentation of the teams to take note of. Because so if your teams are like specific, you know, it would be good to take some time and just look at what your team has and figure the things out. And so yeah, with that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one.